What basic, children's age level fact did you only find out embarrassingly later in life? My 31-year-old girlfriend thought islands don't touch the bottom of the ocean.
My grandma always made me eat the crust of my bread because it has the most nutrients. In college, when I told my younger cousin that in front of my grandma, she laughed and said, "I only told you that so you wouldn't waste the crust." Similarly, that if you turn the lights on and off too fast, you'll start a fire. Once I became a parent, I realized it's just a way to stop kids from being annoying.
A few years ago, I was searching for different classical pieces in Spotify, getting frustrated that every version Spotify had of works by composers like Beethoven and Bach were covers performed by modern orchestras. My idiot brain was looking for original recordings from the 18th century until it finally realized how dumb that was.
Once when I was 17, I was losing my mind trying to find cupcake mix in the baking aisle. Only to then have the epiphany that cupcakes are just small cakes.
Lol. Okay, so I grew up on a small farm. We had cows, chickens, pig, rabbits and goats and more. On occasion we had to shear the goats. The goats would hold very still when being sheared. Like statues still. I saw this on pretty regular occasion. When my parents would take me to get a haircut, they would tell the barber to give me a billy goat cut. Of course, to me this meant hold really still, so I did. Had the same barber for a long time. Eventually he passed when I was in high school, leaving me to find a new barber. Imagine my and the new barber's surprise when he said, "How do you want it cut?" and I said, "I just want a normal billy goat cut." This is one of those things that makes me cringe at night.
Reindeer are a real animal. When I found out about Father Christmas, I thought that meant reindeer weren't real. I was very much an adult when I was very confused and excited to see one in real life.
A pony is not a baby horse. I'm 47, and learned that less than a decade ago.
I was 23 when I learned I was allergic to apples. Someone was complaining about their throat closing up after smoking, and I responded with, "Oh yeah, like when you eat an apple?" You can imagine how the conversation went from there.
I had to tell my aunt, at the age of 60, that cats and dogs cannot interbreed and create some sort of hybrid cat-dog. She didn't believe me at first. So I had to tell her lots of half-people half-sheep would be running around if that was the case.
My mom used to tell me the car doesn't start if the seatbelts aren't buckled. Didn't know that wasn't a real feature until I was 22.
One of my mates from my master's grad school didn't know that there were male and female chickens. He thought roosters and hens were different breeds. The same went for cows. He justifies hating cheese because he thought cow's milk was cow urine. We had to explain to him that piss is not stored in the udders, and also asked him what he thought happened when human mothers breastfed newborns. Piss ain't stored in the tits, mate. We were 24 at the time. Tim, if you're reading this, you were way smarter than me at neuro-ophthalmology, lol. Edit. I can't believe my most awarded comment is about cow piss. Thanks for the gold plus silver, guys, and thanks, Tim. Sorry they roasted you, haha.
I'm from Pennsylvania. When they do the nightly lottery drawings on TV, they always add a reminder at the end, benefits older Pennsylvanians every day. So, naturally, I just assumed that a lot of elderly people won the lottery. When I was a teen, I made a joke to my dad about him turning 50 and having a better shot at winning the lottery, and he looked at me like I was nuts. Turns out that benefits older Pennsylvanians every day means that the lottery is a fundraiser for senior services, and here I was thinking that it meant Grandma was winning millions on her scratch-offs.
It took me an embarrassingly long time before I realized that when a movie had a blurb from Rolling Stone, it wasn't the Rolling Stones reviewing it.
I went to Lowe's and in front of everyone asked for strap-ons. The correct word I was looking for was ratchets/tie-downs.
Found out that jackalopes are not real and a creation from taxidermist and other folklore. Was absolutely mind blown, and Scooby-Doo betrayed my younger mind.
There's no chemical in the pool that reveals pee. A buddy and I were talking about it, and we both realized at the same time that neither of us have actually seen it. We looked it up and felt dumb as hell. Edit. Yes, before you type it out, I know chlorine and pee combined creates that pool smell. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm referring to that mythical chemical they put in a pool that changes color when somebody pisses in the pool water, and identifies who peed. That doesn't exist. It's what they tell kids to scare them out of pissing in the pool.
My cousin's name. Growing up, we'd always called her Tori, always that and nothing else. A couple years ago, Well into my 20s, she's visiting and we go to a restaurant. Our waitress comes up and says, "Hi there, my name's Victoria and I'll be taking care of you." My cousin says, "Oh neat, that's my name too." I was surprised by that cause my dumbass never put together that Tori was short for Victoria.
I had my CPA license before I realized pickles are actually cucumbers.
I'm an introverted, avid reader. I can't tell you how many basic ass words I mispronounced for years until I heard someone else say them.
Howdy is short for, how do you do?
Why there are no 10 birthday candles in stores. I was complaining about it with my husband, and he said you're supposed to put 1 and 0 together, and that was the lowest point in my entire life. Edit. So apparently some of you don't understand. I was just in the store with my husband when I saw some candles. I wasn't looking for wedding candles when I was 10. Obviously. I understand that there might be some candles that are 1 and 0 put together, or some variation that goes higher. I was merely saying that I hadn't seen one before. I'm not stupid. It was a simple error that I've only thought about like 5 times. I wasn't forming my entire personality around this one fact. But to those that were civil and jokey, thanks. Y'all are actually really funny.
Thought the former leader of North Korea was Kim Jong-il for an embarrassingly long time. I somehow managed to avoid hearing his name said out loud. Or, written in a serif font, apparently.
Not me, but a friend of mine didn't learn that Martin Luther and Martin Luther King Jr. weren't the same person until college.
Coral is an animal. I always thought it was an undersea plant.
I incorrectly said, the brist of it, instead of the gist of it. I used that phrase in conversation for years until one day when I was nearly 30 got corrected by a Jehovah's Witness that came to my door and asked me if I ever read the Bible. I smugly replied I got the brist of it.
Okay, here goes. I am almost a senior citizen, but a couple weeks ago, I learned they actually laid cable across the Atlantic for telegraph. I was in tears when my hubby told me because I thought he was joking with me when he said they laid cable for telegraph. I said, "No they didn't, that's impossible." But he was not joking and cable was put between the continents. Then I got very upset because I was never taught that in school.
My roommate was 21 when he learned that cows have fur. He thought they were just skin.
Age 40 I found out that Segway and Segway are different words.
That woodchucks and groundhogs are the same animal. I was somewhere in my 30s. My state called them woodchucks, so I never made the connection when I was younger.
My grandpa used to take me fishing a lot as a child. He explained that any noise at all would scare the fish in the lake and ruin fishing for everyone there for hours. On a boat with my husband last month at the age of 28, I realized Grandpa just wanted some peace and quiet. Edit. Some people are saying you really can't make noise, so I'll explain. My husband turned on the radio while we were out fishing. When I complained he said, "Oh, honey. Grandpa just wanted you to shut up. We caught lots of fish and made all the ruckus we wanted."
I am from a northern city in the US. In basic training for the Army, I was asked by the chow hall lady if I wanted grits with my eggs/bacon/breakfast. I had literally never seen or heard of them in my life. I lived a relatively sheltered and somewhat ethnic-focused dietary life. I asked her what they were, and she replied, "Wheel, they're just grits." So asked, as politely as I could, are they an animal, mineral, or vegetable? Luckily, my new friend from Florida was behind me, heard the entire conversation and said to me, "They're just corn, somewhere between cream corn and cornmeal." He then said, "If you put butter and salt on them, they taste just like butter and salt." Love that guy. He's probably a general now.
I thought an axolotl was a fantasy creature that didn't exist. I mean, you can't blame me. Just look up a picture of one and tell me that doesn't look straight out of some fantasy movie.
In college, I had a tough time trying to convince a friend that yellow dandelion flowers were the same as the white puff balls. I had to find a plant that had both stages coming from the same base. Edit. Dandelion time.
My granddad played this epic decades-long practical joke on me. Every Christmas for as long as I remember, he would put on Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds, only the first disc, and he said it was a Christmas tradition. Every year without fail, he would put the CD on, regardless of if we were at his house or if he came to us that year. It was only at Christmas 2020, where I had Christmas without seeing any family due to COVID restrictions where I live, that I asked my housemate, "Do you want me to go stick on War of the Worlds now or later?" Housemate looks at me perplexed. What? You know, War of the Worlds, my granddad insisted it was tradition. Only your granddad does that. I told him over video call Boxing Day. I never heard the old man laugh so hard.
When I was young, I found a Doobie Brothers CD at a relative's. I asked my mom what a doobie is. She said it's a lady's private part and to never say it. I was 17 before I saw someone call a joint a doobie.
The song, I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus, is not about creepy infidelity, but rather, hinges on the fact that dads sometimes dress up as Santa. Which I realized in my 20s when I brought it up with my Catholic roommate. I'm Jewish, and there's no pretense as to who gives you a pair of socks on the 8th night of Hanukkah.
Okay. Breaking out the alt account for this one. I am 25 years old. I have 2 degrees and I live on my own. I didn't learn until a few days ago that microwaving metal might start a fire. How can I not know? I don't own any, edited for clarity, metal cups, plates, bowls or serving dishes at home. I know not to leave cutlery in the microwave, but I didn't know it's because they're made of metal. All this time, I thought not putting forks in a microwave is simply an indisputable fact of life without any need for an explanation. I've never questioned it. I just do. And I lived happily ever after alongside this ignorance. Until I don't anymore. During a volunteer shift I was asked to microwave several pet food bowls for our finicky eaters. One of the other volunteers quickly pointed out there are paper plates nearby and then left. I didn't get it. Why would I need paper plates? I couldn't figure it out. There's nobody around to ask. And the dogs need their dinners, so I just chucked the bowls in the microwave. The metal bowls. What are those crackling sounds? Huh. That's strange. Some sparks are flying. Yeesh, maybe this microwave is old. Just as I started wondering if I should take the bowl out, another volunteer walked past, spotted my innocent attempt at arson and straight up dive-bombed into the kitchen yelling stop stop stop. Take it out. What are you doing? Luckily I stopped the microwave before Armageddon happened. Unluckily, I now must explain myself. The sheer look on this poor soul's face when I honestly told him I didn't know is still branded to the back of my mind. I swear I could almost hear his thoughts. Am I lying? Has an arsonist, cheers, grammar Nazis, successfully infiltrated their organization? Am I just that dumb? Is it possible to be so dumb? What else do I not know about the world? Am I an alien studying human life? Long story short, the other volunteer gave an overly detailed explanation about why metals can't go into microwaves. I apologized profusely, and now I don't volunteer there anymore.
The little pig going, wee wee wee, all the way home, was squealing and not peeing. I was in my 20s before I heard someone say it while squealing the wheeze, and I did a shocked Pikachu face.
I was only able to see the capital D in the Disney logo a few months ago. I always wondered why it was a backwards G. I'm 29 years old. Not my brightest moment.
Don't add dish soap to the dishwasher. Found that one out at 26. I swear it's only because I grew up washing dishes by hand. Had a fun time cleaning that mistake.
I thought until the age of about 21 that when companies had est next to their name, it was estimated that companies were started around that time. It was only when I voiced my disgust profoundly to my then partner that it was ridiculous that no one knew when these companies were formed, and why were they all estimated. She just stared at me blankly for a moment and just went, established, penny dropped real hard.
As a kid I used to think the black market was an actual place like a bazaar where all the criminals would regularly meet up.
That Apollo 13 was an actual event and not just a movie starring Tom Hanks. Would have been embarrassing in any context, but all the more so when I was working with Captain James Lovell and asked him why he was signing new paperbacks of Apollo 13 with Tom Hanks on the cover. "Oh, did you work on that movie?" I asked. Beyond awkward. We had an hour's drive together, and so after he patiently explained that he was on that mission and as I had not seen the movie, I asked if he would tell me the story. He laughed and agreed. Okay. I've never met anyone who didn't think they already knew the story. Hearing him tell it to me was riveting and special. 25 years later I still cringe, but it was one of the best days in my life. He is truly an amazing human. I keep meaning to write it all out for and send it to the moth smile. Edit, some words for clarity, at work and distracted. Edit, gold. Thank you, kind stranger. There is a lot more to the story. Most of which makes me look worse and am better. It took me another decade to appreciate the deeper lesson he offered me that day, but let me sum it up as slow down. Life teaches you how to live and how to love.
When I was 4 or 5, my mother brought me home a balloon one day. Plain blue balloon with helium. I accidentally let it go and it flew away. Being little, I was devastated. Later that night she comes back from somewhere and tells me she was at the gas station and miraculously, my balloon just came floating by. Being a kid, I was thrilled and totally believed it. So fast forward 20 plus years. I'm on a date and we stop to get gas and we see a balloon floating by the gas station. Probably hadn't thought of that story again in all that time. So I start telling my date the story about how I had a balloon fly away and then my mother found the very same balloon at a gas station, and then as I'm saying it out loud I realize, too late to not look like an idiot, that of course it wasn't the same freaking balloon. I've never seen someone laugh so hard.
I had a friend who at 25 found out pepperoni was indeed not a vegetable. He ordered a meat lover's supreme. The waitress was both surprised and amused when responding to his concerns about why pepperoni was on this meat-only pizza.
Age 22. Kiwis aren't supposed to taste spicy. It turns out I was just allergic. I thought for the longest time that's why people liked them.
My mum used to tell me that putting too much vinegar on your chips makes your blood dry up, so I've been scared of putting too much on. I'm 25 now and just realized my mum wanted me to save everything due to her being a single mum and in a lot of debt.
I recently learned that narwhals are not mythical creatures. As a child I learned that unicorns aren't real, so now I've spent my entire life thinking that if a horse with a horn aren't real, then neither is a whale with a horn. But like, for real? How can we have whales with horns and not horses with horns? It still baffles me.
No, a scientist doesn't actually know everything about every subject in school. I used to think that they were the masters of the world, knowing everything mankind ever learned. I also thought you needed to be a scientist to be president, but oh well.
I am over 60 and I found out about a year ago that Zoe was pronounced Zohee. I always thought that was Zoe, the diminutive, and Zoe was pronounced Zoh. To be fair, I cannot remember ever meeting someone with that name.
I thought that when you ate, all the food piled up from your feet and then when it reached your butt, you went poop. No clue where it came from, but I believed it far longer than I should have.
My mother told me that if you swallowed gum it would stick to your ribs. I was in my second year of college in an anatomy class when it hit me that this isn't true.
That the eggs we cook with would never become baby chicks because they are unfertilized.
I didn't know that Shaq and Shaquille O'Neal were the same person. Hee hee.
Ice cream and frozen yogurt are two different things.
That little thing that dangles at the back of your throat aren't your tonsils.
May your day be filled with joy and happiness. And please remember to subscribe to Upvote for the best quality content every day.